The year is 2026. For enterprise buyers, the artificial intelligence hype cycle hasn't just slowed down, it has flatlined completely. The benchmark marketing that defined the last few years, the endless race to claim the highest score on a standardized test, is no longer relevant to your daily operations. Today, we're dismantling those vendor promises. We are reframing your entire procurement strategy around the only two metrics that actually matter for your business: operational failure modes and total cost of ownership. We are going to strictly analyze the brutal reality of real-world technical debt versus the vendor fantasy of automated perfection. Listen closely, because your mandate as an executive is no longer chasing the smartest AI. Your mandate is securing operational stability. To build that stability, we have to enforce a strict process before platform mentality. Here's our roadmap. We will start with a high-stakes executive overview of the current market. Then, we will conduct a detailed operational AI postmortem. After that, we'll unpack the human adoption blueprint. Finally, we will lay out a definitive chronological action plan and guardrails.
Section 1. The High-Stakes Executive Overview. Defying the Benchmark Horse Race.
Consider a real procurement meeting that took place recently at a major SaaS company. It's 9:12 a.m. on a Tuesday. The Chief Technology Officer drops 3 tabs onto the shared boardroom screen: ChatGPT Team, Claude Team, and Gemini for Workspace. Now here is the crucial takeaway. Not a single person in that room asked which model was the smartest. It simply didn't matter. Instead, legal immediately asked about data boundaries and retention policies. Finance asked about cost predictability during unforeseen usage spikes. Engineering prioritized error profiles and latency over raw intelligence. The public conversation on social media still treats this technology like a horse race, cheering for whichever model writes a better poem. The enterprise buyer absolutely does not. The enterprise buyer is looking for a system that won't break under pressure.
The market has completely repriced itself around integration strategies rather than interchangeable chat applications. We must stop thinking in brand terms and start rigorously analyzing product philosophy. Look at the landscape. OpenAI optimized for reach first, and then monetization depth, effectively building an entire ecosystem from the consumer upward. Google optimized for distribution through existing surfaces, making Gemini an incremental procurement decision that slips neatly inside your existing workspace contracts. Anthropic, however, optimized for the quality of reasoning behavior under strict operational boundaries, actively positioning Claude for high accountability teams that cannot afford hallucinations. You have to understand this distinction. You are not buying an isolated brain. You are buying an integration strategy that will either seamlessly fuse with your existing architecture or fundamentally fracture it.
Section 2. The detailed operational AI postmortem. Process before platform and the hidden costs that destroy budgets. Here's the hard truth. Process always comes before platform. Automating broken workflows only scales inefficiencies at the speed of light. Deploying general intelligence onto fractured workflows exposes hidden financial liabilities and accelerates operational failure. Leaders must stop asking who scores higher on synthetic tests and start meticulously measuring how systems fail under enterprise pressure. Look at the real failure modes. In long document reasoning, the hidden risk is a quiet, unnoticed contradiction buried deep after Section 30 of a massive contract. In multi-file coding, the risk isn't syntax, it's a local fix that silently shatters your shared abstractions. Tool-using agent flows fall victim to reward hacking, loop drift, and silent retries that burn compute without you knowing. Policy drafting generates plausible, highly confident, but entirely wrong legal framing. Enterprise search synthesis will give you a beautiful confidence summary built entirely from partial, incomplete internal sources. Decision quality requires weighting these specific failure slices by their actual business impact. You are not seeking a universal model champion. You are seeking the model that fails in ways your business can actually tolerate.
Now let's look at the financial reality, because the billing models have shifted aggressively under our feet. In April 2026, Anthropic fundamentally altered the financial modeling for mid-market enterprise deployments through a mechanism known as token unbundling. This is absolutely critical to understand. They formally separated API token consumption from the base enterprise seat fee. Previously, higher seat prices included prepaid built-in token discounts. It was a predictable bundle. Now, that seat fee dropped to $20 per user per month. It looks cheaper on paper, but here's the catch. All token consumption now bills at full, standard API rates without those built-in discounts.
This pricing mechanism creates a massive, unpredictable shock to your total cost of ownership, specifically for high-usage scenarios. Take a mature enterprise deployment. You have 3 automated workflows processing thousands of internal documents a day. That generates tens of millions of tokens. When factoring in those automated workflows post-token unbundling, your total cost jumps by a staggering 140% compared to moderate, non-automated usage. What used to be a highly predictable, manageable $27,000 annual budget violently escalates to $66,000 seemingly overnight.
We need to clearly map where this cost fracture occurs because it sits right on the fault line between team tier and enterprise tier economics. The team tier is essentially a subsidized environment. It bundles a generous token usage allowance right into that $20 seat fee. It's a convenience designed explicitly by vendors to build enterprise habits and lock you in. But the enterprise tier is priced entirely differently. It is priced as raw infrastructure. You pay the $20 base fee plus a completely separate uncapped usage bill at standard API rates. Mid-market teams are regularly forced out of that subsidized team tier due to headcount caps or strict compliance and security mandates. They transition straight from friendly product pricing into ruthless infrastructure pricing. If your ERP managers do not deeply model your token consumption before agreeing to these enterprise terms, you are flying blind into a financial storm.
Section 3. The Human Adoption Blueprint. Addressing the adoption gap, change fatigue, and user identity.
Perfect financial models and robust security protocols do not matter at all if user resistance actively rejects the technology. Change fatigue is now a defining metric of enterprise failure. Right now, enterprise AI spending averages over $1,200 per employee per year. Against that cost, we calculate a potential productivity upside of $7,800 per employee per year. On paper, that is a massive, undeniable 6-to-1 return on investment. Yet, across the industry, this value remains completely locked away, suffocated by poor top-down deployment strategies. The seat cost only matters if the seat actually gets used.
Look at the stark quantitative reality of mid-market adoption. The gap between purchase seats and active utilization is exactly where your ROI goes to die. 3 months after a standard 30-seat rollout, the behavioral pattern is ruthless and entirely predictable. Out of 30 paid seats, you will consistently find 3 highly active power users and 27 completely dormant users. The vast majority of your expensive paid seats sit utterly idle. Why? Because there is no dedicated adoption layer. Employees lack specific templates for their actual mundane daily jobs. They can't build custom agents without hitting massive IT bottlenecks. Buying more enterprise seats does not fix a fundamentally broken adoption process. It just scales your wasted spend.
Beyond adoption, there is a massive governance flaw directly tied to how humans interact with these systems. Enterprise plans frequently lack native per-user authentication when it comes to shared agents. This means they are pooling credentials and entirely masking individual permissions. If multiple team members invoke the exact same HR or finance workflow under a pooled credential, individual access rights are bypassed. One user's access can easily, silently compromise data that another user should absolutely never touch. You must protect your employees' identity capital. You have to ensure that every single request authenticates specifically under that individual's identity, demanding third-party platforms to bridge this vendor gap if necessary. To survive this landscape, ERP managers and tech leaders need a ruthless, highly structured 3-layer selection framework. Layer 1 is workload priority, holding a 40% weight in your decision. You must score models exclusively on real, messy internal tasks, not clean, synthetic public prompts. Layer 2 is failure cost, weighted at 35%. You must explicitly estimate the true financial cost of rework, the cost of a delayed revenue event, or the cost of massive legal exposure when the model inevitably hallucinates. Layer 3 is control and cost fit, weighted at 25%. This is where you assess your governance capabilities and your budget resilience during sudden peak usage spikes. Operational impact must always, without exception, override raw capability benchmarks. Section 4. Action Plan and Guardrails. Securing Phase A stability before any broader expansion. Knowing the risks is only half the battle. We must enforce a strict, chronologically ordered 90-day deployment playbook to secure baseline core integrity, what we call Phase A stability. This means securing data migration, verifying clean financial ledgers, and validating inventory pipelines before you even think about optimizations. Most assistant rollouts do not fail in month 1. They fail in month 3. The initial pilot looks good, usage scales up, and then unchecked quality variance utterly destroys internal trust. This 4-phase, 90-day playbook is your architectural firewall against that exact fatal pattern. It enforces structured, relentlessly safe adoption.
Phase 1 covers days 1 to 15, baseline and red team.
You will select 12 to 20 truly representative tasks across diverse business functions. Do not let your team submit easy, cherry-picked wins. Demand the complex edge cases. You need to explicitly define gold standard output expectations for every single task. You must establish maximum acceptable error thresholds up front. Assign dedicated human review owners to hold accountability, and crucially, set strict, hard-coded retry budgets. If the model fails 3 times, it cuts off and a human steps in. You are actively testing for failure here, not baseline competence.
Phase 2 covers days 16 to 40, controlled pilot with routing. The most robust, future-proof architecture for an enterprise is not brand loyalty to one vendor. It is dynamic model routing. You must adopt multi-model routing early in the cycle. Route your routine, low-stakes summarization tasks to cheaper default models. Route your complex, long-context legal reasoning to high-tier specialist models. You must strictly gate all tool calling automation with mandatory human approval workflows. Finally, publish your internal usage policies in plain, direct language. Do not write a 60-page PDF, because your teams will absolutely ignore any governance document they cannot parse and understand in under 60 seconds.
Phase 3 covers days 41 to 70, cost and quality instrumentation. By this point in the deployment, natural usage growth will begin to mask underlying quality shifts unless your tracking mechanisms are incredibly aggressive. You must monitor the output acceptance rate on the very first draft, track the average number of retries per completed task, rigorously record the defect incidence rate after AI-assisted output enters your production pipeline, and most importantly, change your financial denominator. Calculate your cost per successful task completion, not your cost per token. The cheapest model by token is rarely the cheapest overall once you accurately factor in the expensive human labor required for constant error correction.
Phase 4 covers days 71 to 90, governance hardening. Finalize your Phase A stability by permanently locking your governance structures before you authorize any broad company-wide expansion. Enforce strict role-based access and comprehensive logging policies. Define exact, unyielding incident handling protocols for AI-caused errors, because they will happen. Freeze your evaluation suite so you have a stable baseline for quarterly retesting. Only after you have achieved this complete Phase A stability, after you have guaranteed clean financial ledgers and validated your data architecture, do you walk into contract negotiations. Vendors respond very, very differently when you sit across the table with empirical, comparative failure profiles rather than blind enthusiasm.
We will leave you with the only strategic question that actually matters for your leadership team right now. What category of error is truly existential for your workflow? The long-term winner in the enterprise space is not the flashy model that looks best in a static benchmark screenshot on social media. The winner is the platform that allows your enterprise to deploy intelligence with strictly bounded risk and highly predictable economics. Stop chasing the hype. Optimize for operational predictability. Protect your core integrity.